under arrest. Holy shit! I know this is I'm under arrest. Do you know what this country looks like to America? Do you know what it looks like to America? No, just put me under arrest. Where have you been brought up? I need to sue these persons. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you into the ground.
The UK's status as a free speech pariah state where mass rapists of teenage girls roam free for decades, where phone snatchers are allowed to terrorise the streets of our biggest city with gay abandon, where pedos like Hugh Edwards avoid jail, but nasty tweeters get arrested by 5 armed cops. Well, that status has been confirmed by the appalling arrest of Father Ted creator Graham Linehan at Heathrow Airport yesterday.
Holy shit! I know this is I'm under arrest. Do you know what this country looks like to America? Do you know what it looks like to America? No, just put me under arrest. Where have you been brought up? I need to sue these persons. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you into the ground. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you all. I dare you.
It is increasingly clear the crackdown by the UK's deep state working with the authorities is to silence all dissent. From the Epping mums, to the Canary Wharf pink ladies, to citizen journalists and independent commentators pointing out that the invasion every single day and the Muslim takeover of our country might have consequences. Take this post on X from Charlie Kirk, who wrote, "Importing millions of Muslims is civilization suicide. Europe must stop or die." Now, I ask a very serious question. Would that post have been illegal if Charlie Kirk was a citizen of the United Kingdom? Nigel Farage, the Reform UK leader who was in Washington, D.C. to raise the alarm with MAGA Republicans today, thinks so.
Now even got potentially, with this socialist Labour government, they're thinking about bringing in a law on Islamophobia, which would mean we could not criticise the religion of Islam, and yet we could for Judaism or Christianity.
Well, a lot of
or
people
everything
don't
else.
know this.
We are being very badly run.
How many Sharia courts?
I know that.
How many Sharia courts are in Great Britain?
At least 85.
At least 85.
At least 85.
Well, that doesn't sound like assimilation
Sharia
to me.
courts.
That sounds like separation to me.
It sounds like catastrophe to me. Literally catastrophe. Mass migration. And you and I have spoken before. You said to me once, you went through parts of London you didn't even recognise to be England. So please, America, take the warnings. Recognise why President Trump is brave and true and right to control the southern border.
The problem is, of course, that we have a cucked and compliant regime media working to try and cover up these stories. Now, in fairness, the dying newspapers, for once, realised the significance of the story, with The Sun, you saw it there, even declaring Britain's fecked, which is a bit rich from Murdoch's newspaper giving it back slippery Starmer to become Prime Minister just last year. But I was literally astonished because woke ITV News did not mention a word about Graham Linehan's arrest during its entire flagship bulletin last night. So once again, it has been left to real free speech warriors in the US to point out just how fecked we are. Megyn Kelly posted, "Shame on Great Britain for what's going on" to Graham Linehan. What an embarrassment. Europe does not value free speech, and there are many in our own country who want to be just like them. And Rob Schneider, who is producing Linehan's new sitcom in the US, raged, "The United Kingdom has fallen. The British Isles equals despicable anti-free speech totalitarian police state." Some lefties in this country finally seem to have realised we have reached the point of no return, like the despicable Owen Jones with the biggest U-turn ever, writing, I think that Graham Linehan is beyond awful. We should not be arresting people for hateful things they say online. It's not a solution to these problems, and trusting an increasingly authoritarian state to be the arbiter of acceptable speech is a major mistake. And regime comedian Jonathan Pye opining, it doesn't matter what you think of Graham Linehan's views, this is an insane level of overreach and a complete waste of police time. But as a furious Katie Hopkins responded, and how do you think we got to this point, Jonathan Pye? You and your kind todger-twanging lefty C-words applaud censorship and cancellation of those you disagree with. But now you think this is overreach? You own this. And of course that's true. I mean, today the Met Police boss, Mark Rowley, is moaning to the government, claiming that it's not our fault, Gov. But we know that's bullshit too, given the amount of thought or speech crimes from the left that the police constantly ignored. I mean, as Chris Rose pointed out, Graham Linehan should have joked about pushing people under a train like our health secretary Wes Streeting. I mean, do you remember when Wes Streeting posted without a knock on the door from the Met? Posts included, there would be nothing natural about Jan Moir's death if I shoved the bigoted old bag under a train, considering starting my own vigilante organisation to push nasty people under trains. First up, Jan Moir, followed by Geert Wilders. And we all know the police are a big part of this problem, as Alison Pearson, who found herself the subject of an investigation for a deleted X post, wrote, the police are in the grip of a poisonous left-wing ideology. They are brainwashed into policing on behalf of, quote, protected characteristics. They think their role is to usher in a progressive utopia. The ideology can and must be rooted out. God save Graham Linehan. Very well put. If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address and sign up today. The UK's status as a free speech pariah state has been made abundantly clear by Nigel Farage in Washington, D.C. today, where he raised the case of Britain's number one political prisoner, Lucy Connolly.
Cases, we of course have Lucy Connolly, who put out an intemperate tweet after the savage murder of those three beautiful young girls, she herself, a mother who had lost a child. It was intemperate, it was wrong, but she removed it 3.5 hours later, sentenced to 31 months in prison. She's now out, having served 40% of the time. I wanted to bring her with me today as living proof of what can go wrong. Sadly, the restrictions that have been put on her banned her from making the trip, which is a very, very great show.
And that is absolutely true, because I can tell you that in order to interview Lucy Connolly here on Outspoken, we had to get permission, or she had to get permission from her probation officers. But I can tell you that I have been in touch with Lucy this afternoon. She watched what Nigel Farage had to say about her, and she is obviously inspired that her case is proving the limitations to free speech in this country. But it's obviously not just Lucy Connolly. Now, Graham Linehan, one of our greatest comedy brains, and again, Nigel Farage taking the Father Ted creator's story international.
We, of course, have the extraordinary events that we understood yesterday of Graham Linehan, comedy writer, comedic writer, and he put out some tweets months ago when he was in Arizona, and months later he arrives at Heathrow Airport to be met by 5 armed police. Armed police, not a big deal in the USA, a very big deal in the United Kingdom. 5 of them. And he was arrested and taken away for questioning. He's not even a British citizen. He's an Irish citizen. This could happen to any American man or woman that goes to Heathrow that has said things online that the British government and British police don't like.
And Americans who fundamentally believe in free speech need to hear just how bad things are. Given, remember, that Keir Starmer told JD Vance and Donald Trump to their face that he's proud of the so-called free speech we have in the United Kingdom.
So I've come today as well to be a klaxon, to say to you, don't allow, piece by piece, this to happen here in America. And you would be doing us and yourselves and all freedom-loving people a favour if your politicians and your businesses said to the British government, you've simply got this wrong. At what point did we become North Korea? Well, I think the Irish comedy writer found that out 2 days ago at Heathrow Airport. This is a genuinely worrying, concerning and shocking situation.
And Sarah White, Britain's new political prisoner who was arrested and charged after unfurling the Union Jack flag outside the Epping Council offices on Sunday night, joins me alongside Britain's #1 patriotic barrister, now behind the brilliant Substack, Steven Barrett, the Public Gallery, on the Superstar panel today. But first, if you're like me, you've spent so much time trying to find the perfect skincare treatments for your face, only to realise you're neglecting this area, right? The skin on your neck. But I have noticed, as I'm in my 40s, that is a massive oversight because the neck is on display all the time, yet so many folk just treat it as an afterthought in their routine. But so many women in the Outspoken audience will know that the skin on your neck is thinner, more delicate and less oily than facial skin, which means it requires specialised care. That's why I was completely blown away when I received my, and oh my goodness, I love it. How beautiful is this? The Go Pure Tighten and Lift Neck Cream, a product transforming the lives and the necks of women, and I have to say, some men too, all across the globe. It's a gorgeous product. I saw a noticeable difference within just weeks, and I know that it can become a game changer for you too. And the big news is Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off Go Pure using the code DAN at checkout, D-A-N. Just head to gopurebeauty.com/Dan, use the code DAN, and you're all set. Go Pure's proprietary firming complex is designed to visibly firm and smooth the skin on your neck and your chest, actually, if you want to use it there too, in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. In a consumer study, 100% of users said their skin looked more supple, 97% noted a firmer appearance. What incredible numbers! Indeed, Go Pure's full line of science-backed skin and body care have delivered for over 100,000 real women with real results. Dermatologist recommended, cruelty-free. I know how important that is for so many of you. And with over 1 million jars sold, this beauty secret can no longer be called a secret, right? So tighten, lift, and restore elasticity in your neck because your skincare routine shouldn't stop at your jawline. For a limited time, Outspoken viewers and listeners get that whopping discount, 25% off. You just have to use the code DAN, Dan at checkout. So head right now to gopurebeauty.com/Dan, use the code Dan, and you're all set. And after you do buy, do us a little bit of a favour. When they ask where you heard about Go Pure, tell them it was after watching Outspoken. But now, back to the show. And Stephen, first to you. I mean, this is now so concerning. But as laymen, we don't know who to blame because Starmer, slippery Starmer, is trying to say, not me. You know, this is all police overreach. Then Sir Mark Rowley, head of the Metropolitan Police, saying today, not me, Gov, this is all down to government. So when things go wrong, when there's criticism, all of a sudden, all of the people in power seem to claim they don't want to arrest people for sending nasty tweets.
Yes, and I'm afraid that this is a feature of human society.
Yeah.
It's a weak bureaucratic dictatorship by weak men. And we've seen this before. It's what emerged after the French Revolution. It's what emerged initially after the Russian Revolution. It's almost certainly how you would describe late Republican Rome. It's the Weimar Republic in Germany. It's a bunch of incredibly wet, overly intellectualized, largely men. I mean, there are women in the government, but surprisingly, they'll probably be an awful lot tougher than the men. They tend to be when human societies get this way. And we have the ridiculous situation in which state power was grotesquely used to arrest a comedian, and neither the Prime Minister nor the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police will admit that they were involved in any way. That's what I mean by weak men. Men who do nasty, vicious, venal, aggressive things, but who don't actually admit that's what they've done. They tend to be replaced by what's called a strongman dictator, who will admit that he did all the violence and that he did it. And we don't want to go down that path. We need to restore democracy. And that we are at a point now, a crunch point. I love our country very much, because I think that these weak men are playing a game that I like to call, how many times can you hit a man in Waitrose with your trolley before you die? And of course, the first time you hit somebody with your trolley in Waitrose, we say sorry, because that's what we as a country do. That's our absolute nature. And then we go through a process of sort of escalations. And eventually, if you keep hitting someone with your trolley, you will die. And I like that about our nation. It means that our initial response is never aggressive. We're not a particularly high, anger society. We're quite passive. We're quite sweet. We've got bunting and nice beer and beer gardens. But when push comes to shove, the British don't actually put up with this stuff. The great myth is that we don't rebel as a people. And that's complete tosh, because for 800 years, we used a series of rebellions to force the Normans to act like decent people.
Yes.
And our current leadership... Sorry.
Well, no, indeed. I mean, I'm just thinking what you're describing. I think Sarah White, you're a great example of that, right? Like an ordinary mum, single mum from Essex. Yes, you're supporting Reform UK, but you're not extreme in any way. But something has snapped in you, quite rightly, because you're seeing the destruction of your local community. But I just wonder, Sarah, I mean, you've obviously seen your leader, Nigel Farage, speaking there. I thought he did a very good job today. I really give him credit, especially for raising the cases of Lucy Connolly and Graham Linehan. Of course, he hasn't supported you yet, and I hope that he does, and I hope that the party stands by you. But how angry do you get when you hear our Prime Minister, and he did it again in PMQs today. It's not even worth looking at because it was just the same old line, Britain's always had free speech. What's your message to him, given what has now happened to you?
I mean, the man's an absolute buffoon. To even say that we have free speech in this country, and to stand on the stage of America and say to Donald Trump and JD Vance that we have freedom of speech and he's very proud of that. Where has he been? Under a rock? Like, the man's an absolute idiot. And it infuriates me because there's clearly not freedom of speech in this country, because if somebody like me has had to snap and stand up for the good of the people, along with hundreds and thousands of other people as well that are now coming out, and they've all had enough. It's outrageous, and something needs to be done. We need to get rid of this government, because the whole of the government, the whole of the Labour government and the Conservatives were no better. They all need to go. They don't care about the people of the United Kingdom. Although I would say freedom of speech for, say, certain people from certain backgrounds seems to take precedent. There are certain people from certain cultures that can do whatever they want. If I had been flying a Palestinian flag off of the civic offices, I'm sure nobody would have even come near me and I wouldn't be covered in bruises.
Very, very good point. Steven Barrett, Graham Linehan specifically, the Free Speech Union are convinced he has a very strong case, right? And that the state's case is very weak. We heard at the top of the digest that secretly recorded audio of him threatening to sue the police. He's apparently very determined to go through and do that. Sarah here as well is also intending to sue the police after her arrest. Alison Pearson intending to sue the police too. I mean, is that something you can see from a legal point of view working out?
Well, what I think we should highlight is that the phrase lawfare is a useful one because this is a type of violence. And really, state violence has been used against all three of these people. I mean, Sarah talks about being bruised. That's a result of violence. Now, in some circumstances, state violence is legitimate, but we, the British, really don't like it. And we don't like it being used against us. And we don't think it should be used against us. And I use that in a very broad term, by the way, Dan. I hate the fact that they keep trying to pretend that we're all white. I mean, we're a multi-ethnic people. So when I say us, I mean all of us. And I'm not excluding any of my friends. We are a lovely, loving and diverse country. But all of us don't like state violence being used against us. So suing the police is basically reacting to violence with violence. Ultimately, it's not going to improve society. What's going to improve society is a new government getting a grip on the police, sacking and disbanding the College of Policing, which is an obvious source of the corruption in our police currently, and sacking a number of chief constables, the chief constable of the Met, the chief constable of Essex, and numerous others need to simply be sacked on day one. That's the only way that we really get a grip on our country. But I thoroughly support, whilst we're still in this mess, of course, people must use every legal avenue open to them. And I think, Graham's case in particular, so the three tweets, that I cannot see any cogent legal argument in which they are unlawful. I cannot understand an argument by which they are unlawful. At which point, and look, they've basically collapsed in less than 24 hours with him. So in reality, I think I wish people well. I wish Sarah well. I don't want anybody to stick their neck out. Remember, when you sue people, you're exposed to potential legal costs. So be careful, and nobody needs to martyr themselves for this, because basically the whole country is waking up. We've been hit with a trolley in a supermarket too many times.
Indeed we have. But my God, it is incredibly depressing to see the United Kingdom the subject of the US House Judiciary Committee when it comes to free speech. We invented it. We should be ashamed. I am ashamed, and we do have to fight, and it may be unprecedented in terms of the ways that we have to do it over the next couple of years. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.